Week 4 question 9 seems to have a lot of information, but if you take it slowly and deal with each set of information separately, you'll get through it. Okay, let's take a look at the question. So Lynn Crossan was under pressure to reduce the price of a mega-size product, a mega-size package of diapers, to $21.50 from $23. And she wanted to run some numbers to see how her overall profitability would compare if she indeed did do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at two scenarios: existing pricing and new pricing for next year and the overall impact on profit. So the first thing we need to do is figure out what our unit margin is. In the existing pricing scenario and the new pricing scenario, and then we're going to take that unit margin, we're going to calculate our total contribution under both scenarios, because as you can see here, there's some impact on units sold down here if we do end up changing our price. So that is going to significantly impact the financials. So we're not going to worry about qualitative factors, just purely based on the numbers. We're going to make a recommendation. So this information here gives you existing selling prices. So what you need to worry about here, because we are the manufacturer, you need to worry about only the manufacturer's selling price. So in this case, our selling price to the retailer, so we manufacture it, we sell it to the retailer for 14 bucks for the small pack. We sell the mega size pack for 23. That's the mega size, our selling price on the mega size. So what the question is asking us, if we took that 23 and we reduced it to 21.50, what is the overall impact on our financial scenario? Okay, so there's our pricing information. The next bit of information here gives us variable costs. So we know that raw materials are $7.50 and $11.75 respectively. We've got manufacturing costs that differ between the two sizes. And then we know that raw materials are going to go up by 5% next year. So these two numbers here are going to go up by 5%. And we have our variable selling costs that are the same, 70 cents. Then we've got our fixed cost information here, and then our unit information here. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so the first step, as I mentioned, is to calculate our unit margin under both scenarios. So the first scenario, the first set of data here is our small pack, and the second set of data is our mega pack. So our two scenarios are, what does it look like in the old price, new price, and then old price and new price for mega. So we know that our old price on the small pack, as I mentioned in the previous screen, was $14 even. The existing old price on the mega pack was $23. Nothing is changing in the small pack. There's no suggested change in price for the small package. What the suggested change in price is to drop our wholesale selling price on the mega pack by $1.50 to $21.50. Okay, now we need to do some calculations to figure out what our variable costs are. So our variable cost calculation for the small package includes raw materials. So raw materials were $7.50, but don't forget those raw materials were supposed to go up by 5% next year. So those raw materials are actually not going to be $7.50, they're going to be $7.50 times 1.05 or $7.88. So we'll strike that out. Raw materials are going to be $7.88. We've got variable manufacturing costs of $3.56 and variable selling costs of 70 cents for total variable cost of $12.14 for the small pack. Nothing's changing in the new price scenario, so variable cost over here is going to be exactly the same. Therefore, our unit margin is $1.86 in the old scenario and in the new pricing scenario. Nothing's changing there. Okay, let's move on to the mega pack. So calculating variable cost for the mega pack, again, we have our raw materials that last year were $11.75, but we know they're going to be going up by 5%, so we multiply by 1.05. So that then becomes $12.34. Add to that our variable manufacturing costs of $4.30, our variable selling costs of 70 cents, and you get $17.34. So you're going to plug that in here, $17.34. Those prices in the new pricing scenario, those variable costs in the new pricing scenario are the same. So now we can calculate our unit margin in the old pricing scenario of $5.66, and in the new pricing scenario, $4.16. Okay, we're going to take these numbers here and calculate total contribution and profit under both scenarios using these numbers. Okay, let's go ahead and calculate. If we were to leave the price the same and not change the price, what would our profit be? Well, let's take a look first, the total number of units that we would sell for the small package of diapers. The case says if no changes were made, sales would remain stagnant. So last year we were able to sell 1,150,000 units. And we know that our unit margin we calculated in the previous slide for the small package was $1.86. So the contribution, $2,139,000. The large unit margin calculated in the previous slide was $5.66, and we know last year we sold 750,000, and the case said that's not going to change. So total contribution for the large package is $4,245,000. Okay, so let's add those two together, because we're going to take our total contribution, which is simply your units times your margin. So total contribution, adding these two numbers together, is $6,384,000. From your total contribution, you take away your fixed costs, which we knew incidentally last year were 2.9 million, but we know this year they're going to go up by 3%, so we have to multiply by 1.03 to give us fixed costs this year of 2,987,000. Take that away from your total contribution, and you get your profit figure of $3,397,000. Okay, now keep this number in mind as we go to the next screen and do the same thing, calculating the numbers based on a price change. Okay, what if we were to change the price? What would our numbers look like? Well, we know that 2 slides ago when we calculated our unit margin for the small, it was going to remain constant at $1.86. The case tells us that if we are to change the price, the volume on the small pack is going to go down by 10%. So it's that 1,150,000 times 90% gives you total units of 1,035,000. For total contribution on the small package of 1,925,100. So just a reminder here, these units here, last year we sold 1,150,000 1,000. We multiply that by 90% in order to get a 10% drop, because the case says that our volume on the small pack is going to go down by 10%. Okay, our large unit margin, as calculated 2 slides ago, so you got to go back and the numbers, was 416. Volume on the large package, if we drop our price, is going to go up by 40%. So that volume is 1,050,000. Again, here we're taking last year's volume of 750,000 and multiplying it by 1.4 to get that number. So total contribution on that package is 4,368,000. For total contribution across the board, 6,293,100. Okay, so there's your total contribution. I'm just going to copy that number down again. We're going to take away our fixed costs, which are the same, so nothing has changed with fixed cost. And what we're left with is profit in this case of 3,306,100. So here's your number to compare with to the previous slide. Previous slide, we were still making more profit. We were making closer to 3.4 million. If we change our price, we're going to make closer to 3.3. So from a financial perspective and a financial perspective only, it doesn't make sense to change your price.